What's up? It's me, Haley Jones, and today we have another data deep dive. This video is a part of a series of Q1 2025 real estate market stats in the Knoxville and East Tennessee area. This video is Knox County as a whole. So we're going to look at Knox County, and then we're going to look at what's happening north, south, east, and west, all right? If you want to know what's happening specifically in West Knox, go look at that. If you want to know what's happening specifically in South Knox, go watch that. North, etc. East, there's a Farragut one, there's a Seymour one, there's a Maryville one, there's even a Waterfront one, because I love some data. So let's dive in and get going. I am a real estate agent in the Knoxville and East Tennessee area. I'm native to Knoxville. I went to Carson Newman, which is just outside East Tennessee. I've spent a lot of times on the lakes of East Tennessee. My family's from Morristown. I live in Seymour. I know a thing or two about the area, but also I'm a former high school math teacher that has worked for Knox County schools, Oak Ridge schools. I worked at the district level for Knoxville, and I also, for Knox County, I should say, and also worked for a local private school. So that being said, I know a thing or two about a thing or two, and obviously I can't stop talking. I'm a teacher. What can I say? And I love to teach. As a math teacher, I love the data. All right, so that being said, let's dive into the data and see what exactly is happening Q1 in 2025 in the real estate market. So if you saw the real estate market predictions for 2025, the prediction was that sales volume would be up and that prices would be up slightly, about 2%, sales volume up about 8%. Okay, so let's look at Q1. Now, what are these numbers based on? These numbers are based on 2024 Q1 compared to 2025 Q1. And if you're like, what's a quarter? Well, 12 months in a year, divide by 4, quarter, right, gives us 3 months, which means that's January, February, and March. So we're looking at January, February, March 2024 compared to January, February, March 2025. All right, so let's see what's going on. So far for Knox County, what we see is that sold volume is down. That means the number of houses that sold Q1 is down slightly, 2% for the entire county. Prices are up about 3%. Days on market, so that's how long from list to under contract a property is on market, is up about 19% for the county. So houses are staying on market longer. Sell price to list price ratio. Now this one's interesting because this is telling us, are houses selling at ask, below ask, or above ask? And actually this percentage is about the same. So if we looked at what's happening specifically in Knox County, we can see if you're a seller in Knox County, you're thinking, well, are they selling below or at or above? They're selling on average about 99%, that's this number right here, of the list price. So that tells me as a seller, I might get a little bit less than list price. As a buyer, that tells me I might also be able to buy it for a little bit less than list price, on average, 1% lower, on average. I know I keep saying that, but I'm just telling you. All right, now let's look at average price per square foot. Knox County as a whole, the average price per square foot is up about 6%. So that's Knox County in and of itself. So that is this line right here. So if I just strictly look at this line right here, I'm not overly concerned because there is a lot of national news talking about how horrible the real estate market is. And it's just frankly not true. We can see that our volume is slightly down in terms of the numbers overall for the county, but we can see that prices are slightly up. We can see that it's not as if it's swaying one way where homes are selling totally below price. None of that's happening. Days on market, we can see that is up quite a bit, 20% almost. So, you know, that if we look at, okay, well, what are those days exactly? Q1 last year, 36 days. So about a month, a little bit over a month from list to being under contract, whereas now 43 days. So, you know, that's going to feel a little bit different. That is 7 days, right? So that's a whole week longer than what they were taking to get under contract last year in Q1 of 2024. So that to me is probably the most enlightening stat. Things aren't flying as quickly as certainly if we were to add 2023 in here, this would be even faster. If we were to add 2022 Q1, it would be literally bonkers. But there was so much less on the market. There's about 6,500 units right now in the market today at the time of this video. I mean, 2022, we're talking about 1,500 houses. 2021, that time, it was the bottom dropped out. So anyways, now let's just kind of hone down into some areas because this is going to help you really see kind of key differences. So if we look at North Knox, we see sold volume is down, not as much stuff is selling. We see average sold prices down. North Knox is the only place where we're seeing that sold prices are down. And North Knox, this is composed of, some of you may not agree, but North Knox, I did it based on school zones. So area zone for Powell High, Central High, and Halls High School. So that's what I'm counting as North Knoxville. So we can see that sold prices are down in North Knox. Days on market is a little bit longer. If you're like, wait, let me just know specifically what that is. Let's pull up North Knox really quickly. North Knox right here overall, this is not a huge amount. So 2 days longer, essentially. So that's your kind of North Knox look. Let me get back to the overview sheet. If you want this Google Sheet, by the way, just shoot me an email, admin@haleyjones.net. We will get it to you. Okay, so prices slightly down in North Knox, days on market up, sold to list price about the same. All of these are somewhere around 99 to 98%. If we look at North Knox as a whole, that is this one. What's happening? 98%. So it's about the same. North Knox. North Knox, also what we're seeing is average price per square foot down. Now look at the others, up, up, up. So North Knox is really the only place where we're seeing things are down. If we look at South Knox, this is the only one where we see everything is up. So sold volume is up. Here's your South Knox look, 3%. Sell prices up about 15%. Days on market up. So that is, to me, I perceive a longer days on market as a negative stat. 37 to 56. That's a big jump, right? That is almost 3 weeks, right? Which is kind of a lot. If we look at sell price to list price, last year, South Knox, they were going about 97% of list price. We are getting closer by 1% as a seller to the listing price. So probably still some room there, but look at this difference, a $10 difference per square foot. Now, I always make this caveat when we look at price per square foot as a general rule. If I have a house to sell in South Knoxville, as a seller, I'm not putting a ton of weight into this stat because when I price my home, it needs to be specific to what the property is. It needs to be a true comp. So it needs to be within a 1 mile radius. It needs to be in the same neighborhood in some instances if you're in a very specific neighborhood. For example, if you're in South Knox, if you're a seller in South Knox in Island Home, right along the water there, Island Home Boulevard specifically, that's going to be different than if you are off Feather Street by Sono Taco. It's not the same. So you're not going to use those properties as a comp. That being said, this does let you know, okay, this is what's kind of in general happening in the area. And this also gives us a better picture of price per square foot. Like in Knoxville is $224 in 2025. If we look at South Knox, we're slightly below in South Knox what is happening in Knox County. So that's just kind of a, interesting piece of information. If we also look at, and we also see that, okay, this price is up and this is almost on par with what's happening in Knox County. So some similarities between Knox County and South Knox as a whole. If we look at East Knox, we see that sold volume is down, so less units are selling. We see that price is slightly up. We see that days on market are up. We see that the sell to the list price ratio is down, so sellers are not getting as much as they were in 2024. So if we look at that East Knox sell to list price ratio, 2024, sellers in East Knox were getting on average 100% of their list price. They were getting what they listed at. We see in 2025, that's come down a little bit in East Knox. We see this huge, massive jump in price per square foot, which I think is interesting, for East Knox. Now, if you're like, what is East Knox? What are you counting as East Knox? I did for East Knox, this would be anything zoned for Fulton, Austin East, Gibbs, or Carter. Gibbs is a little bit north, but it's more east to me, so I put it in the East Knox bucket. So again, East Knox, this is considering any area zone for Fulton, Austin East, Gibbs, and Carter. All right, last but not least is West Knox. So West Knox, similar to South Knox, and we see that sold volume is up. We see that sold pricing is up. We see that days on market are up. Now, as far as getting the list price, let's look at that. What's happening in West Knox? 99%. So there is no change. That sellers are getting 99% of what they listed. Buyers are getting just under what was listed. So we also see here's your average sold price. This is a big difference. This is your average West Knox sold price, $569. Look at North Knox, $365. Let's look at South Knox, $381. What's happening in East Knox? If we go to East Knox, $327. So your West Knox pricing is almost double every other area in Knoxville. So that is a thing. I just want to point that out, that people, West Knox is more expensive, but also look, West Knox pricing is up, telling us we have demand in that area. So if you're a seller, demand. If you're a buyer, you're going to be paying more to be in West Knoxville. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. Also, we're seeing this price per square foot is up. Let's look at that West Knox price per square foot just for our own kind of information, because if we see this average price per square foot is $230. Well, what was Knox County as a whole? So $230 in West, $224 in Knox County. So this is not as if, oh my gosh, this is so much more crazy price per square foot, but it's $6 more a square foot, but these houses tend to be newer. There's more new construction, especially if you factor in Hardin Valley. If I just show you the Hardin Valley stat, you're gonna be like, oh, if it's pulling it up, because let me show you Hardin Valley really quickly. Hardin Valley, look how much this has risen. So Hardin Valley, I just point this out because it's significantly impacting what's happening in West Knoxville. Go watch the West Knoxville video to see all of that. But when we're looking at this, some of the takeaways are, if you're hearing what's happening in the national real estate market, that's not really true to what's happening in Knox County. And then even among Knox County, we have to be very careful about where we're looking at our data, because South Knox is not the same. Look at the differences here. Prices are down in North Knox 14%. Meanwhile, in South Knox, they're up 3%. This is not the same. So you want to really key in and hone in on specific areas. If you're worried about Knox County and the real estate market as a whole, these stats don't really give me cause for concern. We see that pricing is up 3%. So that's, if that continues over the year, that's pretty much normal appreciation. Now, if we look at South Knox, this is not normal appreciation. So if I'm thinking based on Q1 stats, where would I want to invest in? Well, probably South Knox or West Knox, right? But again, we've got to take it all as a picture of a whole. We're also seeing that, South Knox homes are sitting for a lot longer than they were last year, as they are in West Knox, where North Knox, they're moving slower, but not as largely as like what's happening in the other parts of Knox County. So that being said, all of this again with a giant grain of salt, but this just lets us know like, hey, everything is okay. Even though we're hearing some crazy stuff nationally about the real estate market, Knox County, we're doing okay. Yes, homes are sitting on the market longer, 19% longer, but our prices are up. Our average price per square foot is up. We're getting around 98 to 99% of list price, and our sold volume is slightly down. I do think that depending on what happens with rates, this is going to change. But anyways, that is your Knox County Q1 of 2025 real estate market update. Again, if you would like this data, I've pulled all of this data from the East Tennessee Realtors MLS. And so that's where this data comes from. And I, again, just pulled January to March for each year and then made the comparison. So if you want that Google Sheet, then please send me an email. You can also text me directly, and I'm happy to share it with you. As you can probably tell, I'm obviously a data dork. I can't help myself. I love it. I was geeking out over this. Just totally. But the main thing to take away is like, everything is okay. Q1, we're looking okay. And also the other thing to take away is there is a ton of variance area to area. By the way, I didn't tell you the West Knox, when we're looking at the West Knox data, I told you North Knox, that is Powell, Pauls, Fountain City. South Knox is just South Knox, 37920, South Doyle zoned, but it's just one zip code. South Knox is the only one here that's one zip code. East Knox, this would be Fulton zoned, Austin East zoned, Carter and Gibbs zoned. West Knox, this is going to be West High, Carnes High, Bearden High, Hardin Valley, and Farragut. So your 37934, 37932, 23, 22, 1909, all of those zip codes. So those are your breakdowns of like who is included. If you go look at the individual videos for South, for North, there's maps involved as well, so you can check out those maps. But just kind of wanted to give you an overview of what's happening within Knox County. And just also bear in mind, again, everything is different area to area, but this kind of gives you a general idea of what's happening. So as always, I hope this has been super helpful. I'm Haley Jones. Go check out the others. If you want to see videos that I haven't posted or you want more information on specific areas that I haven't done, then you can always be like, Haley, please make a video about that. I'd love to. In the meantime, click subscribe. I've got a ton to show you and share with you, and I will see you on the next video.